I'm going to talk about trends. To start with trends, we first try and understand what is driving trends for us. And we started this morning with a panel that was talking about, generations. And the biggest movement that we see in the world today is how generations are growing up. And here is a definition for you. So we've got the oldies, which we call the silents. We've got the baby boomers that started growing. There's still some around, and they're still spending a lot. They have a different spending profile for us. We've got X, I belong to that generation. A lot of you in this room belong to that generation. You've got Y, a lot of you in this room belong to that generation. This morning when we were talking about millennials, I apologize to the panel. In reality, they were referring to Y. And millennials are that generation which is still in school today, which is about to hit us. Now, when I talk to you about global trends, there is a slight difference between the world and India. In India, we are in a 20-year time warp, so we are about 20 years behind this movement as far as our population curve is concerned. But we are mentally up there because of the internet, and we have people like Veer who are setting up the easy diners simply because we've skipped one cycle of development as far as the information technology is concerned. So some of it is going to be relevant in terms of trends, and other pieces may or may not be relevant as we go forward. This is the world's population as we see it. Euromonitor, this is the last study that they have published. I'm hoping for a new study to come out. And you are starting to see a shift. The clearest shift is that labor is going to come from our part of the world. The rest of the world is plateauing out. And as we go forward, we see that Asia is going to dominate. That is where the masses are. That is where the trends are going to come from, whether we like it or not. Because that's the largest consumer existing in the world, and that's the largest consumer demanding that product. Now, just between India and China, we cover, what, 2.5 billion. So that's it. Luckily, in India, we fight a lot. So when we say Indian food, that there are 25 different variations of that food. In China, they tell me there are 25 variations. I'm still trying to figure it out. Okay. A little bit more, I've already repeated that. But what you need to remember is whilst the labor will come from Asia, whilst a large base consuming population will come from Asia, the highest paying consumer or purchaser is still coming from Europe or America, North America to be precise. So we may be designing products that appeal to a community that exists elsewhere, but we're also designing products to a niche community that exists in the Indias and Chinas or of the ASEANs of the world, which is buying a top-end product. A lot of time today has been spent describing food and beverage or more food for that top-end community. But as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about food and beverage, we have to cover everyone within the food and beverage spectrum. So yes, thank you, chef. You are brilliant. You made an awesome career. But that, bhajia seller or vada pav seller is also part of our trade in some manner or another. It's just that we haven't put a structure to it which is organized. Okay? So just don't forget that as we go forward. Out of the 2.5 billion between India and China, a lot of that consumption is coming from the unstructured sector. But that will also get organized. It's coming at us. That's a big trend. Okay. Some more shifts that we are seeing. The world is growing older. Not true about India as yet, true about India 20 years later. But the rest of the world is growing older, and the olders are living longer and longer thanks to medical science. So they are remaining within our consumption pool, and they are driving new products as we go forward. We will soon reach a stage that you'll have to pipe your meals. Could be coming at us. I know that the molecular oils have tried already in some manner or another, but that's that. Okay, now I'm going to take you into 8 trends that we see. No more data, no more text, just talk. Okay. First one, leading from this aging population. The ones that are older are rich, and they are continuing to consume, and they have the ability to consume. However, when I say they consume by the heart, I mean the medical heart or the replacement heart. So there are products that are coming in into food and beverage that are designed to appeal to these individuals. We're starting to knock at more of the low fat, the low cholesterol, the no cream, the healthy blah 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 stuff. What we are also trying to do is price that upwards, because they have the ability to pay. And there is a clear separation between food costs these days and pricing. In the olden days, we learned that when we were engineering menus, whether it was for beverage or for food, we would take the base cost of the product and we would mark it up X number of times. What our industry is now doing as we go forward is splitting that. So we create the cost of goods and we have that as a good number, but then pricing becomes an emotional topic. So our pricing, as far as possible, needs to move into the emotional space. And once you go into emotional pricing, then you can mark up 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 15 times, whatever it may be. And that's where the profits are. And that's what we are seeing within food and beverage. So long life aspirants are buying products. They're not going to stop, but they're going to buy products that appeal to them medically. Then you've got the millennials. That's the generation that's in school today or that's just moving to university today. This generation is buying products with the head. In the olden days, you were buying, burgers and fries because that appealed to your tongue. But today they're buying with their head because information technology is feeding into their head. So I've seen several 14 and 15-year-olds who refuse to go to McDonald's because they believe that it is not ethical to go to McDonald's, or because they believe it is not good for their health in the long run to go to McDonald's, because their fries are bad or their meat purchasing procedures are wrong, etc., etc., etc. So they're starting to buy with environment in mind, they're starting to buy with ethics in mind, they're starting to buy with values, and those values are being propagated by themselves. They are a community to themselves. Be aware of that. I have a 16-year-old sitting at home, and he's my guinea pig, poor lad. But recently he was playing a game. This was a game, it's like Trivial Pursuit. So they were asking each other questions with 4 options or 5 options. The game, the way it was designed was they had a group across the world. They then contributed a question with 4 optional answers. That millennial then takes away all the questions into a voting pool. From the voting pool, they pull out one question which becomes the point-based or the marks-based question of the day. They all then put their answers in, and they had a leaderboard going on to give them an answer to say who is winning across the world out of these 60 people that were onto this game. On the way, what were they doing? They were informing themselves. The same thing they're doing about food and beverage products. They're constantly informing themselves. And they're informing themselves faster than we can ever imagine and faster than we can write a book. I work in a school. We've stopped writing books. We've stopped writing manuals. We don't need that anymore because that generation writes their own. And that's the way they're consuming products. Now, if we add this scenario, you've got an automatic trend that's coming through where there's a reduction of calories and there's a reduction of kilometers. So the trend that we are seeing more and more and more is produce that is grown within 30 or 40 or 50 kilometers. May not be possible in a Delhi scenario, but will certainly be possible in most of the new towns in India, where the food is moving or the raw materials are moving within that double-digit kilometer range, getting to the table and being consumed, and there's an extra value that people are willing to pay as a consequence of that food not having more kilometers on it. Economically, it may still be cheaper for us to import snow peas from Kenya, but emotionally, I'm willing to pay more if the snow peas were grown in my backyard. That's just the way this world is going. So fresh local, but also low distance in the region. This extends further because if it's local, sometimes I can go and touch that place. But local is causing a paradox because we all say it's a global village. Hemant was sitting here this morning talking about how he started importing, and you were interviewing him saying you were the first to import. So we have examples of success on the other side where we can move anything from anywhere to the other. We're already moving cuisines left, right, and center. Every cuisine almost in the world is available here. So whilst the world is becoming a global village, goods and services can move wherever, we at the same time are wanting to buy within 100 kilometers or within 99 kilometers because they don't want to go into triple digit, they want to stick into double digit. Here's a paradox. This was also reflected in the last panel. When I open a restaurant in America, what am I going to do? Or when I open a restaurant in London, what am I going to do? Yeah, I'll still go looking within 100 kilometers and adapt that food or that produce into a new dimension. That's what we are seeing more and more. Finally, with the senior generation and sometimes with the wealthy youngsters that are willing to catch up, you've gone into the segment of one. Exclusive, exclusive, exclusive. When I was growing up, and stalwarts like that were telling me that whiskey goes well with chicken tikka, I was told Royal Salute was a great whiskey. And there were days and years that you would say that when you grow up and you celebrate becoming 18, we'll drink a bottle of Royal Salute. About $100 a bottle at a duty free as you arrive into Delhi, right? How many other bottles of whiskey that can you find that are more expensive than that $100 a bottle? Anyone in this room who's been through Delhi duty free recently? Me? Yeah, I go through this all the time. So, did you go through recently? Anybody in the room who's been through Delhi duty free? Recently went to the whiskey section? How many whiskeys did you see which are above $100 a bottle? About 20? So there was a time that Royal Salute was the most expensive. He says 20, you're saying 60, it's expanding, I can tell you that. And soon we went from $100 a bottle in whiskey to $300 a bottle. And then from $300 we went to $1,000, and $1,000 we went to $3,000 a bottle. And 6,000 is coming, and 10,000 is coming, and 20,000 is already here. And that is coming because we've moved into emotional pricing and because we've moved into this segment of one where we want exclusivity. So I want to be the only person that has access to a particular product, that bottle of whiskey, which is 20,000. Now life is different. Life changes. So sometimes you can get exclusivity because you've got an object. Many other times you can get exclusivity because you will get information or knowledge. So you either you connect off to that vineyard or you connect off to that distillery, and you then have better knowledge of what happened there. I'll come to that as another trend that we'll talk about. Next trend I call is the magic of five. Most chefs across the world are moving to this magic of five. 5 ingredients, no more. So if I've used a particular type of oil, you will be able to taste the oil. That's a delta between Indian food and any other part of the world. In Indian food, we use the oil as a medium, we disguise it or mask it with 25 other flavors. But in the rest of the world, you want to taste that oil as well. It's not a medium, it's part of the product, and you simplify the products down to that segment of 5. I don't know why it's 5. I usually believe that us hoteliers are simple people, so counting on that one hand is good enough. You know, 2 hands will become a little bit more expensive. But talking about this 5 works about how you hit all your senses. When was the last time you heard champagne? Has anybody in this room heard champagne? Have you? Did you hear the difference between a champagne and a prosecco, or a champagne and a sparkling wine that was made in India? Try it. So I leave that to all of you. Go away and try it. Forget about drinking it, listen to it. You will hear the difference between those products. And that's how our industry is now trying to get into the emotional zone. So go back, if only you remember, those of you who are sleeping in the back, go back and listen to your champagne, okay, as you sip it, wherever you are. But that is true about several other products. So you're hitting senses. You're not just feeding people. That's why the El Bullis of the world can produce 30, 40, 50 courses, because you're just touching it. You're not really consuming the calories, but you are smelling it, you're seeing it, you're touching it, you're hearing it, you're consuming with all your senses, and that's the magic of 5. So forget about the magic of 5, go away and listen to Champagne tonight. I hinted towards this, education and entertainment have merged. And edutainment is a big trend. Every restaurant is moving to it, but other businesses are moving to it. So if I want to captivate you, if I want to get involved with you, then I will get to educate you. I will take you to the source. Now this manifests in terms of people as well. When you work with people, your people are no longer just carrying food or beverage to a consumer. They are part of that edutainment package. And when they become part of that edutainment package, they have to be educated and prepared for it. So they have to have been to a vineyard to be able to sell that particular wine, or a sommelier is worthless if he doesn't or she doesn't know the vinification process. And that extends through. When I worked in hotels in this country, geez, did I go to a vineyard? No. Did I drink wine? Yes. Was it good wine? No. But I drank buckets of it just to prove that I could drink wine. Okay? That's changed. Today I understand it. Today my employee is expected to understand it. And then the employee is expected to transfer that out as you go further. If they cannot, your product, your restaurant will fail, whichever cuisine you want to try. The same is true about beverage. If they cannot communicate the values of that beverage, then that beverage product will fail. Mechanization of food. Big challenge to a lot of our chefs sitting here in this room. More and more and more market segment is going away to mechanization. Apologies to the chefs that have talked about making demi-glace. Today, it is no longer necessary for you to know how to make demi-glace. You can download that of a website, and there's 25 companies that make it in hygienic environments, controlled, where you just need to add on to the demi-glace. But you will get 99.9% predictable quality of demi-glace available to you in whatever format you need. Because food is getting mechanized. This is all being done by the Nestlés of the world, or the CP groups of the world, or etc., 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 where they are taking away chunks of what we had to do from zero into their laboratories and into their factories. Now what's happening is that they are competing with our bhajiawalas and vada pav-walas. Because that's the market segment that they want to take away. And us elite chefs or deluxe chefs are then focusing on that top 5%, where we are going away and creating exclusive products. But mechanization of food, pre-prepared meals, easy meals, convenient meals, which give you 90% of the flavor, give you all the nutritional values that you search for, because they are produced in laboratories and in conditioned environments, are here, and we cannot ignore them. I just was reading, I don't live in this country, but Indian Railways is moving to some sort of boil and bag food delivery systems. Yeah? Now, these are large industrial movements that will shift. And they're shifting because of predictable quality. But that's not gastronomy, that's feeding. That's what the bhajiawala is doing in the corner store, or the vada pav-wala is doing in the corner store. Sorry, I'm a Bombay boy, so vada pav is staple food for us. For those of you who have not enjoyed it, I would invite you to come and visit. There's one in front of KC College, and he's probably the premier vada pav-wala in the country. He commissioned me to market him today. All right, we talked about information technology. That's my 8th trend. I know I'm out of time, but I'll stop there. A lot of IT stuff is hitting us in our face. What IT is doing is changing the way we connect with the customer. It is giving more time to our employees to then interact with the customer. I'll give you an example. Right now we are trialing in Europe a new ordering method at McDonald's. And I'm front-ending that for McDonald's. Now, what we've got is, at first phase we put in screens where you could punch your order in and then go pick it up at the standard pickup counters. At second phase, we put an order screen. You could punch your order in, pay for it, and punch a table or a region where you're sitting and go and sit at a table, and the employee who used to earlier take your order and put it onto a tray now no longer needs to spend time taking your order, so the employee carries that tray to you where you're sitting. So that was the next phase. Now we're working on the third phase where we've got an app out, so you could punch your order wherever you are. The moment you hit the Wi-Fi zone of that McDonald's you're going to, it recognizes that your portable device has hit that Wi-Fi zone, which is when it asks the waiter to go ahead and produce that, the server to go ahead and put it onto the tray. And as you are moving to a table, they've got a zone within which your Wi-Fi device has moved to, and your tray arrives and delivers it to you. Now what is it doing? You've got fast food stepping over into quick service, and you'll have quick service stepping over into something else, and you'll have others stepping into exclusive zone. Great news here is a product such as McDonald's, no disrespect to them or full respect to them, is sometimes going to now compete with a top end because their employee has the ability to spend time with you, which they did not have earlier because they were so busy managing the manufacturing and tray or cleaning processes within their kitchens that they didn't keep employee space for human interaction. IT is freeing up that human interaction time, and once they start connecting with you, they can compete with you because we are in a zone of emotional pricing, and it's not just the product that we are consuming, it's the human relations that we are taking on from here. These are all macro trends, these are all helicopter trends. I've thrown them out to you. You will see variations or versions of this, whether it be Japanese cuisine, Chinese cuisine, Indian cuisine, whatever else. I thank you for listening to me.